In this lesson, you will want to be able to graph lines that are where their equations are written in a particular form called the slope-intercept form. So it's important you understand the concept of what an intercept is. And so here I've drawn a picture of a line, and I'm pointing out a couple of important points on the graph. And this point right here is where the line crosses the y-axis at the location of B. So this is called a y-intercept. It is a point where the line crosses the y-axis, and that is at B. So the y-intercept is the number B, and then since it's a point, we can also write it as an ordered pair, 0, B. All right, so two ways to write about the y-intercept. The x-intercept is where your line crosses the x-axis, and that is located at A on the x-axis. So the x-intercept is the A value of A, and that can be recognized as an ordered pair, A, 0. So intercept points always have one of the coordinates will be 0, right? So I usually think about it, if it's a y-intercept, then I'll have a number in the y spot. Could be 0, but it's often another number. The other number is the 0. X-intercept similar. There'll be a number where the x is. That's the x-intercept value, but the other number, the y-coordinate, is 0. All right. Now, slope-intercept form is how we write the equation of this line. So we've practiced graphing by building a table. We're going to actually be able to graph a line using the form that we're given. So slope-intercept form is very special because it tells you information. Here's what slope-intercept form looks like. Y equals m, which is a letter representing the slope, the variable x, plus b. And b, remember, is right here, is our y-intercept. So by looking at this equation, we can tell where the graph crosses the y-axis. So we've got a point on the line. And right here, we've got the slope of the line, the rise and the run. And we can use that rise and the run to get more points, to get to the next point on the line. Okay? So let's take a look at each of these equations, and the directions want us to just look at the equation and state what is the y-intercept and what is the slope of the linear equation. All right, to do that, we really need to focus on this form. It has to look like this to be able to read off this information. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to write the form underneath, just so that I can recognize. So let me use another color. Y equals, so far so good. We've got y's lined up. I've got my equal sign lined up. And then mx plus b, right? All right, so notice that we have the variables x and y lined up, and then right where the m is, there's this number -4. So let me circle those, pair them up. And then here where the b is, I have this number -2. So let me pair that up. You remember, make sure you include a negative sign if you see it to the left of a number. And so that means m, which is your slope. Remember, so m is representing slope. That is going to be -4. And b, which is our y-intercept, so let's write that out. That number is going to be, let me just write it here, b equals -2. Now I do want to remind you that when you go to graph slope, we need a rise and a run, so don't forget that we can write this as a fraction by just putting a 1 under it. And this is a location, so you'll be going to the y-axis and you plot this point on the y-axis. So 0, -2 is the point that we would plot. All right, so here let's do the same thing. When I look at the slope-intercept form, this is not in the right form. To do slope-intercept form, I need the y by itself, and right now we're subtracting 5 from it. So we need to solve for y first. So one of the things I wanted you to make sure you check for. So let's add 5 to both sides to isolate the y. and then rewrite this equation. So y equals, because the 5's are opposites, add to 0. And then we have 3 halves of x plus 5. Okay, and then we look at the form. So underneath, I'm going to write the form. Y equals m times x plus b. And then I circle the parts. So I have 3 halves is where the m is. B is under the 5. And so my slope is equal to 3 halves. And my y-intercept is equal to 5. Okay. All right, so the next one, take a look again. I need to have the form y equals mx plus b in order to read off what the intercept and slope are. So we're going to need to solve for y. Let's make a note of what we're doing. Solve for y. All right, so we're going to need to move the 4x to the other side so that we can get this by itself. So let's subtract 4x from both sides of the equation. And so that gives us 0 on the left with a minus 2y. So minus 2y equals 10 minus 4x, or I really want the x term. We want that x term to be on the left. So negative 4x. And then 10 is positive, so plus 10. And we're almost done. We have to get the y by itself, divide both sides by negative 2. Okay, and so this is positive 1y. And again, remember, we're distributing this division. Both terms are divided by negative 2. So negative 4 divided by negative 2 is 2, positive 2, times x. And then positive 10 divided by negative 2 is negative 5. And so there is my equation. This is m x plus b. And so my slope equals 2. The y-intercept, call it y-int, is equal to negative 5. All right, so let's put this all together. So first we just practiced, how do I read off the equation? How do I look at an equation and get important information that will help me with graphing? And now let's actually go through and graph a line. We're going to graph the line, and then we're going to figure out what the x-intercept is by looking at the graph. All right, so here's our equation. Y equals negative 3x plus 3. So what does that tell us? So let's read off our information. So therefore, what? Where's the m? What's the slope? Okay, so since the number multiplying the x is our slope, so that's our m, and the number being added or subtracted from that term is your y-intercept. That's our b, y-intercept. Slope is equal to negative 3, and our y-intercept is equal to 3. And now we're going to graph that. Well, how do we do that? Well, we're going to start with, we need a place to draw the line. So we're going to need a coordinate plane. So let's draw a graph. Use the lattice lines as for your axes. So x-axis and a y-axis. Okay. Trying to get everything in the picture, sorry. All right, and so I start with my y-intercept of 3. Now remember, that's a point that you're going to plot. where's my line gonna go? Am I gonna put it down here? Am I gonna put it here? Well, the point helps us anchor the line. So we're gonna, on the y-axis, we're gonna plot this point. So that would be 0, 3. So on the y-axis, 1, 2, 3. Okay, now we're going to do slope to find other points. Now, slope is a fraction. I need a rise and a run. So I rewrite this as a fraction, put a 1 underneath, and remember that this is, the direction is negative on top. That's the change in y. That means I'm going to go down 3. The direction in the bottom is my run, or the vertical, or the horizontal change. It's positive. Positive, go to the right. So this says down, this is down 3 and right 1. And that's the direction I take every time I want to find a point. So I go to the point I started with, right there, and from that point I'm going to go down 3, right 1. So 1, 2, 3 puts me at the origin, right 1, right here on the x-axis. And then I can repeat that multiple times to find other points on the line. So I'm going to do that. Down 3, right 1. You have to do both. You don't plot the point until you've done both directions. Down 3, right 1. Plot the point. Down 3, right 1. Plot the point. So you just can keep going. I ran out of paper, so I'm going to stop there. Also, you can reverse that direction. So your slope, if you just change both directions, in other words, instead of down 3, I go up 3, and I go left 1. Okay, and so remember what, in terms of slope number, that's the same thing as positive 3 divided by left 1 is negative 1. Well, that's still negative 3. So I haven't changed my slope by doing that. I just changed where I put the negative. So now I'm going to reverse both directions. So I'm going to go up 3, left 1. 1, 2, so up 3, 1, 2, 3, left 1, and then I can keep going. I'm just going to run into my words. So you can reverse directions. So let's connect those up, draw the line. And then we take a look at the graph. It does ask us to find the x-intercept. So where does this line cross the x-axis? Right there is our x-intercept. And so let's state that value. The x-intercept is equal to the number 1. Or alternately, you could just write the ordered pair for that point, 1, 0. So either way is fine. Time for practice.